welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, 18 hours special initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. On the show today, we're taking in all of your queries over email, calls as well as social media. So to answer your queries today, I have with me in the studio Sushant Mitra is the founder of Lead Angels. We also have joining us on the show T.R. Bajalia. He's a former DMD of SIDBI. He's also an ex-executive director and head of SMEs at IDBI Bank. Thank you both gentlemen very much for being with us here tonight. Let's kick this off with the first query, and this is coming to us from Abhijit Malik. Abhijit has written into us saying that he is an online tours and travels agent, and he's in the business of online tours and travels, and wants to know whether we'd recommend to expand it on platforms like Ola, Uber, etc. So this is essentially the use of technology as far as traditional businesses are concerned. And while technology is disrupting most industries, I want your comments on his query.
Sure. So I think, the online travel has become fairly common. Most people are now going to these online sites and booking their tickets. But the space for, let us say, travel, outstation travel and so on, is largely now controlled by the larger players such as Make My Trip and others. So there is scope only for niche plays now. So most of the spaces have been taken, in terms of taxis or in terms of travel agents and so on. So now perhaps there is scope for niche players, maybe focusing on pilgrimage sites or for adventure tourism or specific niches in the overall travel market is what I would recommend him to do.
Sure. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah. We observe that in tours and travel business, if we see the last 3 years, this Ola and Uber, they have done a very good job. But still I find there is a large scope for this like taxi service in big places. And as a aggregator, if somebody else comes, there will be good competition. And perhaps there will be much improvement in the services also. We are seeing that like Uber or Ola, sometimes we are finding some complaints. But if some new entrants are also come, then perhaps due to competition, the services will improve and delinquent those factors will get eliminated. So I feel that if somebody is thinking, he should also think about aggregating these services and go for the quality business. So that good scope is there.
So I hope that answers your query, Abhijit. Abhijit's query has come to us on Facebook, and do stay tuned. We'll tell you at the end of the show how you can also send in your queries on social media to us. Let's take in the next query, and this is an email that has come to us from Ashok Kulkarni. He says, how will entrepreneurs be affected with the implementation of GST? And in fact, 2 episodes ago, and even in our previous episode, we were talking about GST, and we did a GST special where most of our queries were related to GST with the implementation, and even as we're waiting for what will be the final implementation of it, etc. What would your recommendation be? And maybe I'll start with you this time, Svajala, in terms of how businesses are really going to change in keeping with this.
When we talk about this today, the excise duty and value added tax plus service tax plus octroi, all these taxes are there. In place of this, when one uniform tax is implemented, then the rate again, which we are hearing about 15 to 18%, and here when we compare with, there are different tax rates in different states, and if we join or club all together, it is much higher than that. So perhaps the tax part also comes down. So the prices of the cost of the productions whichever they undertake, that comes down and it becomes cheaper, and then it does not make difference for the state. They can go to any state and start the business from there. Like presently when they go to some state, there are special incentives, and some places there is no incentive. But after GST, I think there will be a uniform pattern on the taxes, so that benefit they can get.
Sure. So, Sushanta, I want you to answer the query, but I also have a follow-on question in the sense that while entrepreneurs and MSMEs have no choice but to obviously comply the cost of complying with an additional regulation, and how do you suggest or how do you recommend that they really factor that in?
Just to adding on what my friend said is that the one is that instead of so many taxes there will be one tax, so it will be a lot of actually reduce the compliance and requirements from the entrepreneur and SME side. Two, that logistics and transportation will become a lot easier once this comes into account. So I think in overall terms, compliance will actually reduce the overheads of compliance. Today, if an entrepreneur is handling 3 sets of taxes or 4 sets of taxes in some cases, this will certainly reduce their overall compliance requirements, and that's a welcome thing. I also think that once this new tax starts getting implemented, a lot of new businesses will be able to expand and come up because of the improvement in logistics and transportation. So, many businesses which could not be done because of all these taxes and at the district level and at the state level and at the central level, with one tax, a lot of new businesses will be able to operate now which they could not in the past.
All right. So, Ashoka, thanks for that question on GST. And hope that answers your query. Let's take in our next query. This is also an email. It's come to us from TP Bashir. He's written in to us to say that he's in the polymers business and wants to know from our experts the fact that he makes and supplies polythene bags, garbage bags amongst other products, and wants to know whether our experts would recommend that he increases his current production levels. Agreed, it's a bit of an open-ended question in the sense that we don't know where he's at right now. But and this is a conversation we've had when you've come on our shows previously to talk about at what stage should an MSME expand? What is the right stage? Should you continue focusing on your core business, or should you look at expanding, and at what point can you do it and at what cost? Would you have any answers to that?
Scaling is very important in businesses that he is in, because scale is very, very important, because if you don't reach a certain economic size, then your profitability and other things will be affected. So I think growth is a necessity for all SMEs and entrepreneurs. So that is the key thing. And the other is to focus on what is his core strength is. So all the products that he has, maybe he should focus on one particular product where he feels that he has a better reach to the market or has a lower cost of production or whatever, and focus on that and not to look at the other things.
Sure.
I feel that the product like polythene bags, where most of the states are going to ban that on polythene bags, and there is a general hue and cry that this product should not be used. So perhaps in the long run the demand for this will come down, but as regard the other products, as Mr. Das has said, he should increase that, but again it depends on his capacity to market those products. If he is catering to the local market, then he has to see that what is the total market size and how much he can grow and how much he can sell.
Okay, sure. All right, let's take in our next query. This is also an email. It's coming to us from Amit Ranjan, who says, what are the institutions that provide financial help as far as startups are concerned? So I presume he's a startup and has written in asking us about finance, and finance is about 90% of the queries that come into our show, Mr. Bajalia, are to do with finance, and I'd like to start with you in terms of your advice.
Startup, I think our Prime Minister, he has taken a major step about the startup, and today SIDBI is taking a lead in this side. They have set up a fund for startup, a fund of funds, where to the existing PE funds also they can help them, and so that the size of the fund can grow more number of times, and then they can cater to the need of startups. Plus for their debt requirement, they have to go to the banks also, and banks from Reserve Bank side, they are getting instructions, or as part of priority sector lending, they have to consider these type of projects. So these will form a part of the core area, or I will say the priority area, where over a period of time the more focus will come. And when we talk about Make in India, where Plus, we talk about the defense side, where our SMEs, they have to play a major role on manufacturing of these various products. So, there is a huge scope for startups, and government has realized the importance of startups, of generating new entrepreneurs who can come forward and go for the again entrepreneurship.
You want to add to this?
Yeah, so apart from banks like SIDBI and other public sector banks who are promoting, there are two other ways in which startups can get funding. One is that there are grants which are available from different departments of the government, either through incubators or directly to, especially for techno entrepreneurs. Department of Science and Technology has certain grants available, and so have a lot of incubators which are there, operate grants or very low cost funds for startups. Coming outside the government sector, there is now a fairly large ecosystem of individual angels, angel networks, and VC funds, both for profit and not for profit enterprises. So, that is also a fairly large support that can be available to these startups. Outside this, there is another third area where now there are crowdfunding sites which can fund a particular project. So, if you have a particular project and you need support, you can even, it is not equity funding, somebody will fund your product and purchase that product, and therefore, that purchase price can be used for funding your project. So, there are now multiple sources of funding available to startups.
So that's in response to your query, Amit. Let's take in the next query, and this is coming to us on social media. On Facebook, Ram Balasubramaniam has written in to us saying which regions or countries are favorable as far as exporting imitation jewelry is concerned. So it's a very specific industry that he works in, imitation jewelry. But as far as the whole jewelry business is concerned, I remember discussing this in one of the previous episodes. Which countries are favorable? A, and B, how much of the online do you really use to be able to sell your products, Shashank?
So, I think unlike India, where both the jewelry made from gold and silver is used, imitation is slowly coming up in the Western world and other parts of the world. It's actually imitation jewelry which has a huge market, much larger market than real jewelry or 24 karat jewelry or 22 karat jewelry. So, I think practically everywhere in the world there is a market for imitation jewelry, and of course, each market will be a little different in terms of what they are looking for in terms of sophistication of design and so on and so forth, which is key in marketing your products. So, that is what I would to look at. Maybe he should focus on a particular market, say Western Europe or America or Southeast Asia, and then try to understand what their requirements are, who are the players in that market, and then decide what products he can place on that market.
Okay.
I think a lot of data is available, and data related to the exports. From that data, it can be seen that which are the country where major exports are happening. I think Jaipur is the main center today who are exporting this type of jewelry. And as regard gems and jewelry is concerned, actually main exports were USA and Europe. And I feel these are the only areas where it may continue, and Southeast Asia to some extent may also find place for this type of jewelry. But I think one should get the data from export details and then proceed on those.
And then take a call on whether
Yeah,
it makes sense.
yeah.
Okay. Ram, that's in response to your query. I do hope that answers the question that you sent in to us. On that note, let's take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll continue answering all of your queries. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and we're taking in all of your queries with our panel of experts. Let's take in our next query, and this is something that's come to us on social media. Rajesh Bhatia has written in asking which are the bodies that can help small scale industries, like I'm assuming the one that he is in, to grow as compared to other industries, and wants to know that how can small scale industries or SSIs really promote themselves, and what facilities are available if you compare them particularly with MSMEs or some of their larger peers. So we don't hear very often from small scale industries. We talk more about MSMEs and SMEs. So anything different that an SSI needs to keep in mind? How different is the environment as far as the small scale industry is concerned?
Presently, there are various agencies which are helping to the small entrepreneurs to set up the units. Even the land, like large unit, they have to go to specific areas. Small scale, small unit, small entrepreneurs, they can set up the unit anywhere in the country. And then they are given some relaxation as compared to the large units. There are centers which have been now created by the government, where the new entrepreneurs, they are given training. The labor, again, they are giving training for 1 month or so, and they, before joining to these companies, they are trained in those type of activities. Various programs, skill development programs are undertaken by the government. In fact, last year about more than 1000 such programs have happened. So, for marketing, again the government provides some help for identifying the areas or where their market is there, and they help them to market their products. Other like NSCI and these type of agencies, they help these new entrepreneurs.
So, I think the key challenge for any small entrepreneur, without getting into the definitions of it, is how to market his products against big brands and against companies which have much larger resources available to them, whether in terms of finance or otherwise. So, that is a key challenge for any small company. And my advice to them would be that they have to be able to differentiate their product or service from the larger players, so that they do not get into a price competition, whether at the local level or international level, in terms of their competitors, and be able to create a niche which they can protect and build over a period of time. So, differentiation is the key for success of startups and small units.
That's in response to your query, Rajesh. Let's at this point take in a call coming in to us from LS Prasad. Go ahead, Prasad.
What are the options available for funding for working capital for the trading community like me? So, small trading community who are in turn doing a turnover of 1 crore or 2 crores. So, that is my main question. And how can I expand my business, because I cater mostly to the industrial segment. So, what help I can get in terms of expanding my reach to the customers?
All right, Prasad, thanks for that. He's asked a very important question, but I also like the fact that he said I want interests to be nominal, and that's something I'm sure the rest of the industry wants as well. But that said, what advice would you have?
You see, this the requirement of a trading company is mainly the working capital. Working capital, again the banks, they ensure that whatever lending they are giving to a trading unit, it should be adequately secured. So, definitely they look at some sort of collateral for that. So, it is not 100% based on the stocks which he have, and based on the collateral they will be willing to extend the facility. Again, for inventory whichever he is holding, that almost around 20 to 25 to 30% margin he has to provide for that. So, which he has to bring from his own sources, and the balance the banks they can give based on the collateral he is offering them. Interest rate is a big question now these days. I think RBI has asked the bank to go for marginal cost lending rate, and banks now, they every month they have to work out the marginal cost, based lending rate, and they have to announce on their websites that these are the MCLR rates. Now, if we see these MCLR rates, it is ranging between 8.5 to 9.6, 9.7%. So, these are the rates which are available. No bank can lend below these rates. Plus, you are a trading company where risk is considered to be higher, because in case of any stress, the whatever stocks are there, those get liquidated immediately, and no security is left with the banks. So, considering those factors, banks again they keep some margin of 1 to 2%, like A rated or double A rated, their margin may be low, but in your case margin will also be slightly higher, because risk, it is related with the risk. So, credit risk is high and margin will be high. So, based on that, perhaps banks will go for a margin of around 2% to 2 or 2.5%. So, again based on that interest rate is fixed. If your rating is very good, the security offered is very good, and you are among the best client of the bank, your track record has been very good, perhaps bank can offer a very fine or good rate, but it has to be more than the MCLR rate.
So, that is in response to your query, Prasad. Let's take in our next query, and this is something that's coming to us on email. Senthil Nathan has written in to us, says he's in the online truck booking business, and he says that they're currently looking for good VC options. He's written in to us to ask us what the options are in terms of venture capitalists that he can approach, and whether his business qualifies for venture capital funding or not. Right up your alley.
So, I do not know exactly what his turnover is and where his company is right now, but essentially VCs will look at companies which has already had some revenues and sizable revenues before they will invest, because they invest into companies at the growth stage. So, I do not know if his company has reached a growth stage to be able to access VC funding, but at a very broad level, one can say that depending on the industry of course, but roughly about 50 lakhs to 1 crore should be his turnover, net revenues, before VCs would seriously look at his business. He would, if it is not, then he would rather approach some of the angel networks and angel funds who would be willing to look at companies even where the revenues are not so high, in the range of 50 lakhs to 1 crore.
Size of the operation also it matters, and if it is just the beginning, perhaps he may find difficult to get any venture capital. SIDBI has been granting some of the financial services under venture capital, but then again the size matter, some size have to be there, and they are in online truck business. I do not know what is their requirement and how they are planning to go for that. If it is related with the one city or two cities, and whatever they need, what are requirements and what will be the overall cost of the venture requirement. So, based on that it has to be seen. So, now some of the banks they are coming with the venture capital. SIDBI is already there in the venture capital. SIDBI has a separate venture capital fund, another company. So, they can, depending on that their requirement and size, they can approach any of the bank or who are having the venture capital funds or SIDBI.
All right. That's in response to your query, Senthil, and on that note, we've run completely out of time. Thank you so much for being with us here tonight. Do remember that if you have any queries pertaining to your business, you can always write into our panel of experts at leadersoftomorrow@tanzgroup.com. You can reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT, or call us with your queries on that number which is on our screens. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good night.